God used the new supply to collapse the narcissist. Have you ever witnessed a narcissist swiftly move on to a new supply and, for a moment, feared they had found someone better, perhaps even upgraded their situation? What if, in reality, that very choice is not an ascent, but the precise setup for their ultimate downfall and collapse? This is where the truly good news emerges. When the new supply turns out to be inherently worse, hungrier for attention and resources, colder in their emotional responses, and even more predatory in their intentions, a profound spiritual dynamic comes into play. God, in his divine wisdom, often allows like to attract like, ensuring that the rot within the narcissist's character is not only mirrored, but also brought quickly and undeniably to the surface. You will begin to observe, often with startling clarity, how this seemingly upgraded mismatch burns with an intense, destructive heat. The new supply, far from being a source of fulfillment, will systematically begin to drain the narcissist's finances, operating like a relentless vacuum. Their emotional and physical abuse will escalate, reflecting and amplifying the very patterns the narcissist inflicted on others. Ultimately, and often without warning, the new supply will discard the narcissist with an unforgiving harshness, leaving them truly with nothing, stripped of resources, reputation, and any remaining illusion of control. If this scenario resonates deeply with your own experiences or observations, we urge you to continue listening. We will meticulously track the spiritual mechanics at play, unveiling the unseen forces that orchestrate this karmic retribution. Furthermore, we will illuminate the practical, undeniable signs of this downfall as they manifest in the narcissist's life, showing you exactly what to look for. You will understand precisely why this end comes not as a slow, gradual decline, but often with a shocking swiftness, catching the narcissist completely off guard and far quicker than they could ever anticipate. This is not merely an observation. It is an unveiling of divine justice in action. The narcissist's downfall, a spiritual reckoning. In the spiritual realm, sowing and reaping is an irrefutable law, akin to gravity. Pride attracts a harsher master. When an individual worships their image, divine wisdom often permits a mirror image to appear, another counterfeit that forces the truth to the surface. In the crucible of control, counterfeits expose one another, accelerating the intensity of the conflict. What makes this new supply even more detrimental? They mirror the narcissist's tactics, love bombing, entitlement, and manipulation, but with a critical difference. They lack restraint. With greater appetite and fewer inhibitions, the new supply usurps the narcissist's control. Where the narcissist once dictated terms, the new supply arrives with a larger ego, smoother charm, and a colder heart. They promise the world on day 2, demand access on day 3, and establish rules by the weekend. This chemistry is in reality a matching dysfunction. The interaction unfolds as manipulation meets manipulation, canceling out the effectiveness of their tactics. Love bombs ricochet, becoming currency rather than genuine care. Power games escalate as both parties vie for dominance. The more formidable predator meticulously studies weaknesses, ego, greed, lust, status, and exploits them with precision. When the narcissist, once achieved, now serves as bait, compliments become transactional, affection strategic, and boundaries illusory. Observe the accelerating pace, rapid intimacy, swift cohabitation, and premature entanglements. Intimacy transforms into a transaction of favors for favors and access for status. Arguments become tactical rather than emotional, designed to identify vulnerabilities. These tests escalate, involving harsher ultimatums, sharper comparisons, and increased public pressure. Isolation occurs abruptly as allies are blocked, advisors smeared, and resources diverted. Everything moves at sprint speed as urgency dulls discernment. Spiritually, consider Pharaoh's hardened heart. Each refusal to yield resulted in a heavier blow. Idols consistently demand greater sacrifices. When image is worshipped as a god, it becomes a cruel, insatiable, and demanding tyrant. The new supply embodies this tyrant in human form, a walking invoice collecting the debt born of pride. The crucial insight often missed is that this mismatch is not random. It is a divinely permitted consequence. God does not waste pain. He allows false thrones to collapse under their own weight. This truth resonated when the realization struck. The very furnace the narcissist used on others becomes their own crucible. The intense heat exposes what is hollow. And in the moment these hollow places are revealed, control slips away. This marks the opening to the next stage. Because this mismatch doesn't merely bruise feelings, it opens the door to financial and bodily depletion. Once unbridled appetite meets unbridled appetite, money becomes oxygen, and control becomes a leash. The countdown to collapse begins, and it starts with a force louder than they anticipate. Draining in action, the unrelenting squeeze. The ongoing financial drain manifests in several cruel ways, actively eroding the target's wealth and autonomy. Escalating luxury demands. The initial period of love bombing often includes lavish spending, but as the drain intensifies, luxury demands escalate beyond the target's means. High-end restaurants, designer gifts, and exclusive trips to celebrate us become not just desires, but expectations. These expenditures serve to both impress and subtly control as the target becomes accustomed to a lifestyle they can only maintain by continually funding the narcissist. Secret debts surface late. The narcissist is adept at accumulating secret debts, only to reveal them at strategically opportune or devastating moments. These revelations are often delivered with a performance of regret or victimhood, manipulating the target into feeling responsible for rectifying the situation. Blackmail hints. The new supply, with their own agenda, begins to drop increasingly pointed hints of blackmail. Initially innocent, "I have messages from your ex, isn't that funny?" These escalate to sharpened threats. "I have messages, I have receipts," implying damaging information that could be used against the narcissist if their demands aren't met. Asset liquidation. To prove loyalty. The ultimate act of financial submission is the forced liquidation of assets. The narcissist pressures the target to sell cars, empty bank accounts, or even borrow against their home, all under the guise of proving loyalty or investing in our future. This leaves the target financially vulnerable and entirely dependent. Status purchases as control tethers. If the narcissist has made status purchases to impress, these very items become a powerful control mechanism. The target is made to understand that if they wish to maintain their social standing and the perception of success, they must continue to fund the narcissist's extravagant lifestyle. Every credit card swipe becomes a leash, tightening their bondage. The emotional front, cold and calculated control. The emotional drain is equally devastating, a chilling exercise in psychological manipulation. Public praise, private contempt, The narcissist masterfully presents a facade of adoration in public, holding up their brilliant partner for all to see. Behind closed doors, however, the contempt cuts deep. You're slipping. You're lucky to have me. This stark contrast creates a disorienting reality for the target, making them question their own perceptions and sense of self-worth. Silent treatment as a leash. The silent treatment is wielded as a potent weapon. When the target pulls back or asserts independence, the narcissist goes quiet, creating an agonizing void. If the target chases, they turn the volume just enough to keep them crawling back, desperate for crumbs of attention. Constant comparisons. The narcissist constantly compares the target to exes, rivals, or idealized fantasy standards that are utterly unattainable. This insidious tactic keeps anxiety perpetually high, eroding confidence and fostering a pervasive sense of inadequacy. Manufactured jealousy. Manufacturing jealousy is a go-to strategy to spike insecurity. Flirty texts are accidentally left visible. Accidental mentions of other potential partners are dropped into conversation, and last-minute cancellations are made to important plans, all designed to make the target feel replaceable and heighten their fear of abandonment. Physical control, a subtle sabotage. Physical control follows, often subtly at first, gradually eroding the target's physical and mental resilience. Sleep deprivation, late-night arguments, early morning demands, and intentional timing that robs the target of adequate rest all contribute to severe sleep deprivation. This blurred judgment and weakened resistance make the target more susceptible to manipulation. Sexual bargaining. Intimacy becomes a currency, a tool for control. Perform, and you're rewarded with fleeting affection. Resist, and you're punished with coldness or withdrawal. This weaponizes intimacy, stripping it of its genuine connection and turning it into a transactional exchange. Rigid routines. The new supply often imposes rigid routines. Eat here, work then, answer at these times. These seemingly harmless rules gradually erode the target's autonomy, forcing them into a constrained existence dictated by the narcissist's whims. Health sabotage. Health is subtly sabotaged. Skipped meals, pushed drinks, canceled workouts, or even withheld medications weaken the body, which in turn weakens resistance to the narcissist's control. A weakened body makes for a weaker will. The twist. Mirror warfare. The hunter becomes the hunted. Here lies the cruelest irony, a twist most people fail to recognize. Mirror warfare. The new supply, often a more skilled and ruthless manipulator, turns the narcissist's own tactics back against them. Conditional love bombs. The very love bombs the narcissist once deployed are now used against them, becoming conditional fuel. Affection is granted only when the narcissist complies with the new supply's demands, creating a dependency they never anticipated. Reality-distorting gaslighting. The narcissist's signature weapon gaslighting is now aimed directly at them. You're imagining. You're sensitive. You're paranoid. The new supply asserts, systematically dismantling the narcissist's sense of reality and driving them to question their own sanity. Triangulation as a daily sport. Triangulation, a tactic the narcissist mastered, becomes a daily sport. The new supply constantly introduces third parties, exes, friends, even fictional characters to create insecurity and competition, keeping the narcissist perpetually off balance. Every former weapon the narcissist wielded now becomes a snare. The hunter is now hunted by their own methods, deployed with fewer breaks and a higher, insatiable appetite for control and extraction, the composite sequence, a pattern of predation. The systematic draining follows a predictable, devastating sequence. Spending spike. It begins with lavish weeks that feel like a dream, a whirlwind of indulgence designed to create a sense of shared prosperity and excitement. Opportunity pitch. This is quickly followed by an opportunity pitch time sensitive, exclusive, and seemingly unmissable. This is the bait, designed to secure significant financial investment. Debt reveal. Next comes the crushing debt reveal. I didn't want to burden you. The narcissist might lament delivered with a tear or a veiled threat, laying the responsibility for their financial woes squarely on the target. Exposure threat. As the target struggles to cope, the exposure threat emerges. If you love me, you'll fix it. If not, I know people who'd love to see these messages. This leverages the target's fear of public humiliation or reputational damage. Asset liquidation. Finally, the target is coerced into asset liquidation to appease the narcissist selling the car, emptying their account, or borrowing against their house, leaving them utterly destitute. The consequences of this relentless drain are profound and far-reaching. Financial ruin and dependence. Without a financial cushion or an exit strategy, the target's dependence tightens into a suffocating embrace. Shame and concealment. The shame of admitting the mess would shatter their carefully constructed image, forcing them to hide the truth and sink deeper into the quagmire. Deepening isolation. Old allies begin to smell smoke, calls go unanswered, and support systems dry up, leaving the target increasingly isolated and vulnerable. The narcissist's throne, once appearing so stable and grand, begins to wobble. Termites are revealed in every polished leg, gnawing away at its foundations. The carefully curated persona can no longer carry the immense weight of the accumulating debt, both financial and emotional. The drop, pride meets pavement. Once the drain has thoroughly wrung out every last resource and ounce of strength, the inevitable drop arrives. The discard is not merely a breakup. It is a calculated act designed to shatter the narcissist's image and leave them utterly exposed. The reason this strategy works with such brutal efficiency is simple. The new supply never intended to build a genuine relationship. Their sole purpose was to extract everything of value. And when the well is dry, when there is nothing left to take, the extraction ends. That is when pride meets pavement, and the narcissist is left to face a public humbling they so desperately tried to avoid. The stage is then set for the final act, public exposure. The drain, a calculated erosion of resources and self. The narcissist's carefully constructed world, a fragile edifice built on illusion and control, is sustained by a constant influx of two vital elements, money and supply. To sever these lifelines is to witness the collapse of their meticulously crafted facade. Often, a higher power orchestrates the very systems they relied upon to fail, forcing the truth to the surface. When a new supply enters the scene, armed with an even more ruthless agenda, this systemic failure is not just allowed, but actively engineered swiftly, decisively, and without mercy. The financial bleed, a predatory playbook. The financial draining is a meticulously executed strategy, unfolding in distinct, insidious phases. Rapid cohabitation. The initial stage is a whirlwind of intimacy designed to quickly entangle the target. Keys are exchanged with a performative flourish, drawers are cleared for their possessions, and furniture is moved in with an air of permanence. This swift integration creates an immediate sense of shared life and commitment, blurring boundaries and making it harder for the target to extricate themselves later. Joint accounts for convenience. The next step involves the proposal of joint accounts, presented under the guise of practicality and efficiency. It's so much easier for bills, they might coup, or we're a team now, it makes sense. This seemingly innocuous suggestion grants the narcissist direct access to the target's financial resources, laying the groundwork for future exploitation. Investment schemes. With access secured, the narcissist introduces a series of tantalizing investment opportunities. These are often framed as exclusive, high-yield ventures, a hot tip from an insider, a revolutionary startup, or a friend's business that just needs seed cash to take off. The allure of quick riches or a shared prosperous future is dangled, designed to bypass rational thought and encourage impulsive financial decisions. These schemes rarely materialize as promised, leaving the target with significant losses. Staged emergencies. When the investment schemes inevitably falter, a new tactic emerges. Staged emergencies. Suddenly, there are urgent hospital bills for a fabricated illness, family crises demanding immediate financial intervention, or sudden, imperative travel needs. These dramatic, emotionally charged situations are designed to elicit sympathy and prompt the target to open their wallet without question, often depleting their savings or taking on debt. Pressure loans and legal entanglements. As the financial pressure mounts, the narcissist resorts to more overt demands. Sign here, wire this, co-sign, that these become common refrains. The target is coerced into taking out loans, often under their own name, or co-signing on the narcissist's existing debts, further binding them financially. Legal entanglements also creep in, disguised as shared commitments. Leases, contracts, and non-refundable deposits for shared ventures, all strategically designed to create a web of obligations that are difficult to break free from. The discard, public humiliation, and the loss of everything. The narcissist, fueled by an insatiable craving for adoration and control, builds a meticulously crafted facade designed to elicit applause and admiration. However, this idolized image is inherently fragile. God, in his wisdom and often in response to unheeded private warnings, may permit a public, visible fall to finally halt the destructive cycle the narcissist perpetuates. This fall is the discard, a sudden, brutal, and undeniably public unmasking. The 4 blows of a brutal discard. A truly brutal discard is not a singular event, but a multifaceted assault that delivers 4 devastating blows simultaneously. Public smear campaign. The initial strike involves a carefully orchestrated public smear. This often manifests through social media posts, whispered rumors, and strategically leaked screenshots. The narrative is meticulously edited and manipulated to paint the narcissist as unhinged, unstable, or even abusive, while the new supply is presented as the long-suffering hero, the victim who has finally found peace. This public denigration aims to erode the narcissist's carefully cultivated image and isolate them from their existing social circles. Sudden replacement. This blow is designed to deliver a crushing blow to the narcissist's ego. Overnight, another soulmate appears, seamlessly stepping into the role previously occupied by the discarded individual. This swift replacement is a stark, undeniable message. You were never special, you were simply a placeholder. It underscores the transactional nature of the narcissist's relationships and the ease with which they move on. Asset grab. The third blow focuses on material possessions and resources. Joint purchases are retained by the new supply, often under dubious circumstances. Gifts previously given by the narcissist may be reclaimed or their value diminished. Passwords to shared accounts are suddenly swapped, and subscriptions are rerouted, effectively cutting off the narcissist from resources they once considered theirs. This leaves the narcissist feeling stripped and powerless. Social isolation. The final blow isolates the narcissist from their social network. Shared circles are swayed by the new supply's narrative, leading to revoked invitations and group chats that suddenly go cold. The narcissist finds themselves ostracized, their once vibrant social life crumbling around them. The new supply often exits with not only material spoils, but also a carefully crafted script, further solidifying their narrative and justifying their actions to a bewildered audience. The impact of this collapse resonates through every facet of the narcissist's life. Exposure of secrets. Carefully guarded secrets are aired in curated snippets designed to inflict maximum damage and shame. These revelations chip away at the narcissist's fabricated persona. Revelation of debts. Unpaid vendors, defaulted loans, and favors that are suddenly called and expose the narcissist's financial irresponsibility and manipulative dealings. The illusion of success and stability crumbles. Desertion by so-called friends. The narcissist's friends, who were often drawn to their status and access, vanish as the tide turns. Their loyalty, it becomes clear, was never to the narcissist as an individual, but to what the narcissist could provide. Leveraged contracts. Clauses are invoked, penalties applied, and deposits lost as contracts are leveraged against the narcissist. This highlights their history of cutting corners and exploiting agreements. Shredded reputation. Venues refuse bookings, potential partners lose trust, and former mentors decline to vouch for them. The narcissist's professional and personal reputation lies in tatters, making future endeavors incredibly difficult. Revoked access. Access to buildings, tools, platforms, and other essential resources is suddenly revoked, leaving the narcissist feeling utterly powerless and disconnected. The leverage they once held, traded for image months ago, is now gone, leaving them with nothing to bargain with. Several distinct behaviors emerge when the narcissist's collapse is actively underway. Frantic hoovers, late-night calls, dramatic apologies, and desperate promises of change often, mixed with veiled threats, erupt as the narcissist attempts to regain control and manipulate their former sources of supply. These hoovers are a last-ditch effort to reestablish their fading influence. Fast rebranding attempts. In a desperate bid to outrun the stain on their reputation, the narcissist attempts a rapid rebranding. This may involve a new aesthetic, a new mission, or an overnight identity flip, all designed to present a fresh, unblemished persona. Explosive rage at small boundaries. Any no or perceived boundary triggers a volcanic explosion of blame and anger. The narcissist's inability to accept rejection or acknowledge others' autonomy becomes painfully evident. Victim playing in new circles. The narcissist quickly cultivates new circles of sympathizers, presenting themselves as the victim of unfair circumstances. They carefully omit their own hardships and amplify their perceived wounds, recruiting fresh sources of validation and attention. This is a frantic sprint with no legs, an unsustainable effort to maintain their fabricated reality. The culmination of this process is a vivid, composite moment. After months of emotional and material drain, the new supply posts a moved-on message. This message is often accompanied by a soft smile, yet it carries the weight of hard evidence. Receipts detailing dates, payments, and messages are strategically dropped, curated to make the narcissist appear worse than the truth may strictly require. Assets, often under technicalities, gray zones, or sheer audacity, remain with the new supply. The narcissist is left standing empty-handed in a space that once symbolized their control and dominion, the spiritual anchor. God resists the proud. Spiritually, the reason for this collapse is profoundly simple. God resists the proud. When private warnings are ignored, the seeds of pride sown by the narcissist bear fruit in the public arena. The false throne they constructed for themselves tumbles, the stage they commanded goes dark, and the spotlight dramatically shifts to the undeniable consequences of their actions. This is not for the purpose of gloating, but to finally end the harm they have inflicted. It is to break the cycle of manipulation and chaos that they so skillfully hid beneath a veneer of charisma. The crucial point often missed is that the discard is not merely random cruelty. It is the ultimate mirror. The very image they worship, their carefully constructed facade, ultimately turns against them, exposed for all to see. You have witnessed the complete arc, the initial mismatch, the draining of resources, and finally, the brutal discard. Now, you understand the markers of this painful, yet often necessary, process. In the next stage, the checklist will confirm the finalization of this collapse. Okay, so a narcissist's final breakdown is a really tough situation for them, where everything they've built falls apart. This list shows the key signs that they've hit rock bottom, leaving them totally alone, embarrassed, and with nothing. Money troubles. This is usually one of the first things to go. Their bank accounts get frozen, so they can't get to their cash, or they have to sell off their stuff to pay debts. Creditors are constantly calling, demanding money, and because they can't keep up their fancy lifestyle, they often lose their home, car, and other status symbols. All the material things that made them look successful just disappear, revealing how empty their life really is. Relationship meltdown. As their fake image crumbles, all their carefully made connections fall apart too. Their allies go silent, finally seeing the narcissist for who they really are, and their flying monkeys scatter, no longer willing to do their dirty work. The new person they were using blocks them and moves on, finding someone else to focus on. And their reputation takes a nosedive as everyone sees through their manipulation. The very people they used for validation now want nothing to do with them. Losing control. Narcissists are obsessed with control, so losing it is incredibly painful for them. Their perfect routines get messed up, throwing their whole world into chaos. Sleep is ruined by anxiety and the inability to escape their failing reality. Their health inevitably gets worse from all the stress, and their desperate attempts to suck people back and fail, because their past victims have learned to protect themselves. Image shattered. The perfect, superior image they tried to project to the world totally breaks. Their attempts to reinvent themselves flop because people aren't falling for their act anymore. Their smears backfire, turning public opinion against them, and evidence circulates proving their lies. Invitations dry up as they're no longer welcome in social circles where they used to be the center of attention. Blocked access, As their world shrinks, their ability to get to resources and people is severely limited. Passwords are changed, cutting them off from digital ways to control things. Legal papers are served, showing the consequences of their actions, and their belongings are kept from them by those they've wronged. With no one left to manipulate or exploit, they have no power left. All these things lead to a really sad end, filled with deep loneliness, shame, and scarcity. Stripped of all their external trappings and their ability to manipulate, they're left alone with the awful truth of their own emptiness. Their throne is just cardboard, and the illusion of their power has completely collapsed, revealing the sad and fragile person underneath. In his divine strategy, God often introduces a fresh element into a narcissist's life, frequently one that carries a negative influence. This serves a critical purpose: to unmask, diminish, and ultimately dismantle the false authority and control the narcissist has painstakingly constructed. This divine intervention aims to expose the fragility of their self-proclaimed power, gradually eroding their influence and revealing the manufactured nature of their dominance. Through this process, the narcissist's carefully crafted facade begins to crack, leading to a much-needed reordering of their perceived control and the eventual collapse of their fabricated reign. If you found this insight valuable, please consider liking this content, subscribing to our channel for more such discussions, and sharing it with others who might benefit. Additionally, we highly recommend watching our teaching on soul ties for a deeper understanding of spiritual connections and their impact.